Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the program Tawhid Negation, exploring the book The Essentials of Tawhid, book 3 in the series, authored by Bidsari Mani. My name is Muhammad Fasih Peterson, and joining me on the line is Bidsari Mani. Bidsari, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Muhammad Fasih, and the listeners out there.
Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure having Bidsari with us, and tonight we are continuing the discussion where we are looking at hardships as blessings, and it is something very strange to the human mind to be able to interpret something that is difficult, something that is seen as a hardship, as a blessing. And so it will be very interesting to see how we frame our thinking in relation to these things, and how Islam intends to have us transform our thinking, and how we need to look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon us, inshallah. So that will be the conversation this evening. And also, if you would like to engage with this content on video, Birsali has also conducted various courses and classes on matters pertaining to Tawheed, and has also begun discussing this in Birsali's Zoom classes, which are available on YouTube. Or you've got to do a search for Sani Mani. Well, Birsali, this evening the topic once again is hardships as blessings, and right from the beginning, what this gets me thinking about is one of the greatest hardships right now for the world. This is the only thing that's on the news, in the news media, on newspapers, is COVID. Everywhere you go, people are talking about COVID, the negative economic impacts, social impacts, and government taking strain from either bailing out parastatals, bailing out community organizations, well, not community organizations, but trying to support society as a whole. We even have a basic grant for people right now in the country to support them. And at the heart of this is the fact that we're trying to save or protect people from dying from COVID-19. That's the main thing. Many people know someone, a family member, or a friend or close one who has passed away from COVID-19. And so, certainly, there is the negative connotation that goes with death and the negative connotation that goes with COVID-19. But we are saying in this program that every single hardship is a blessing. That every single experience that a human being has that is uncomfortable or difficult or hard is a blessing. So how do we understand that, particularly when we're dealing now with death, something that no one wants to think about? No one wants to think about a friend or a family member passing away. So how do we interpret that, inshallah?
Shukran, Muhammad Fasih. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. When we talk about hardships, difficulties, calamities, it has a very negative impact on us. Even when we talk about it, we're not talking about something pleasant. We're talking about something that's difficult to bear, to cope with, and normally is considered to be unpleasant and something that you want to get away from. And it's true what you're saying. It takes a complete attitude change to view hardships as blessings. Blessings are things that we look forward to. We want it. We see it as gifts and favors from Allah. But here Allah sends the favors in the form of difficulties and hardships. Now, the very, very first thing that we must do is go back to the drawing board and have the right attitude as far as our tawheed is concerned. Before we even look at our own issues, difficulties, we must say first to ourselves, how do I believe Is it possible for Allah to be unfair or unjust? No. If our tawhid is correct, then we know it's impossible for Allah to be unfair or unjust. Secondly, we must also accept that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't benefit or get affected by anything that we do. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. Allah is above that, no matter who does what. So, if Allah puts us through a trial, a difficulty, then there must be benefit in it. Because Allah doesn't desire bad for us, Allah desires good for us. That we must first get that perception right and get our attitude changed towards how we perceive it. Now, if we use the case of death, if we use the case of death in a family, then it's very difficult to see that as a blessing or as a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you feel the pain, it's real. If you lose your job, it's very real. When you go through these difficulties. Now, one of the ways of assisting us to develop the right kind of approach to these things is to acknowledge that people have two components. All human beings have two components: a physical, material component and a spiritual component. Now, if somebody smacks you or stabs you or hurts you, then you'll feel the pain. That's natural. That's a physical response. If you lose a loved one, then you feel that pain. That's at the physical level. The test comes whether you allow your response, your physical response, to determine what your attitude is towards that difficulty. Because you must keep in mind, somewhere, somehow, this difficulty that I'm experiencing is in fact a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must search for what is the blessing. And sometimes it's not easy, but as we work through the program, we will try and develop the right kind of approach. But the very basic fundamental issue is we must have the right attitude to how we receive and our responses to the difficulty, and keep our tawheed pure and clean. Don't think bad of Allah. Don't think that Allah is unjust or Allah's testing you too much now. If you go that route, it shows that you've got work to do on your own belief, Muhammad Fasih.
But Asadi, I just want to revisit that point because I think it's crucial. So what Bilisani is saying is that whenever we think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as doing something to terrorize, may Allah forgive us, but to terrorize us, then our tawheed is not correct because it does not form, it is not befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala status to be tyrannical, to be oppressive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. So what Bilisani is saying, from what I'm gathering, is that whenever we think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that way, we are in actual fact forming in our minds a concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is not true, and also that is anti the essence of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is.
Yes, Muhammad Fasih. And in fact, much of what we are going to say is going to depend on that. It's easy to talk about how one should respond to a difficulty if you're not in it. If you don't have money to pay your rent, it's easy for people to say, no, you must be patient and trust Allah and all of this, but you need the money. So you confronted with this contradiction. But to assist you, don't go too far to the one side and get so engrossed in the problem that now the one who's got the solution is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah created that test and that difficulty for you. But Allah also has the solution. And for us, the key thing in all of this is, where do we turn to when we are confronted with these difficulties. If you go, instead of turning to Allah and seeking Allah's help, you criticize, you express your anger and dissatisfaction with what is happening, that means that instead of you benefiting from this, you're actually going backwards. Instead of getting the true blessing out of that difficulty, you're actually falling in the trap of shaitan and your nafs, because they will whisper in your ears, yeah, but how can Allah test you so all the time and with so much? You're already going through this and that and that. And those are the wiswas, the suggestions that shaitan and the nafs come up with. And now you confronted, depending who you are and what is the state of your iman, you're either going to say, no, 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 I'm going to fight these thoughts and I'm going to turn to Allah. But if you don't, then you become a slave of shaitan and your nafs, and then your difficulty will just remain and get worse. The solutions will evade you. Muhammad Fasih.
The voice of Bilisani Bani. This is the program Tawhid, the Creation, exploring the book, The Essentials of Tawhid. And tonight we're looking at hardships and tests and trials as blessings. When we come back after this break, inshallah, we will continue. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to the program Tawheed and the Creation, exploring the book The Essentials of Tawheed with Bilisani Bani. And this evening we are looking at the concepts that are laid before us of trials and tests as blessings, and hardships as blessings. And we are looking at it in the context of understanding, as Bilisani explained prior to the break, that it is incorrect for a Muslim to perceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being anything else other than merciful, to being anything other than merciful and loving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And so therefore to think that Allah would oppress, and to think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be tyrannical towards us, is in actual fact to do an injustice to who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Now Bilisani, coming back to what we spoke about right at the top of the show, and that is death and loss. The person who loses someone might argue this question, and they might say, well, I'm a single mother, for instance, as a result of my husband being taken away, my husband passing away, and I'm struggling now to raise my children. So how do I see the blessing in this test? Because I'm struggling to make ends meet. My husband was the breadwinner in the home, or his salary contributed to paying much of the bills, and now I've got to see to my children alone, and things are difficult, and we're struggling. So how do I see this difficulty that I am in now, not just of the loss of a husband, but also of the challenges that surround that now? How do I see these as blessings?
Yeah, Muhammad Fasih, it's easy to talk about these things until you test it with real practical examples like this. Now, if we look at the woman who has lost a husband, the test, the first thing for this person would be to demonstrate that they have sabr and that they are pleased with the will of Allah. Now we can respond in a way where we express our anger and dissatisfaction. But the longer you express it, the more Allah will test you. If you keep on showing you are dissatisfied and angry and all of those kinds of negative responses, Allah will keep you in that situation. Because what is it that you need to do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to benefit from the quality of true sabr. Sabr is, they say, it's half of Iman. Can we think how much weight is attached to that quality? So whoever has true sabr, they've been given a great, great, great gift. Is it not so? Is it not so, Muhammad Fasih, that if you have true sabr, now when we say true sabr, it means whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed for you, good or bad, you know it is the will of Allah and there is a blessing in it for you. Now, if we can approach life like that, then we've really received a wonderful, wonderful gift. And the first thing that we should do is to express that we have developed or trying to develop the right attitude by expressing sabr and acceptance of that. Of course, comes the other two qualities, and that is to have taqwa, true and firm belief that the solution can only come from Allah. Now, when you go through that and you believe that and you develop those qualities, then your status will raise and you will develop those qualities that other people yearn for, because these are the qualities that will actually make you shoot like a lightning bolt to Jannah.
Ameen,
Muhammad
inshallah.
Fasih.
Ameen. But it's only if we dissect this, can we say that a lot of the blessings that we're looking at are blessings that are geared not so much towards this world but towards the akhirah, and that
Yes,
the goal and the objective of these tests and trials is so that we raise our status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because I think the human being is always looking for incentive. And because the world, the dunya, is our home base, that's where we are based at the moment, we're looking for benefit here where we are based. We're looking to reap what we have planted in this world. Um, and so when things like these happen and our world is shaken up and we look at life in a different way, then we say to ourselves, Allah has removed Allah's favor from me, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is punishing me, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like me.
Muhammad Bashir, if we use a very basic example, many of the young people are writing examinations now, end of the year examinations. They all want to get to the next grade. They're at school, they're either their final year, then they will go on to university or college, and the people who are not there yet will go on to the next grade. When the teacher gives the student homework to do, is that a punishment? When the teacher says, I'm going to test you before we write the final exam, is that a punishment? It's preparation to assist you to actually succeed with this grade that you're in now and pass on to the next grade. Now, if we look at things like that, then already it will assist you to say, this is to assist me. And when we talk about comparing the next grade from the dunya to life in the akhirah, there's absolutely no comparison. So Allah is testing us and developing, or as the English saying goes, honing our skills and ability so that we can succeed to actually get the full benefit of the akhirah or Jannah for that matter. So I would say that would be like the short kind of response. And maybe through the other sessions, we'll go into it a bit deeper, Muhammad Rasif.
The voice of Badasani Mani. This is the program Tawhid in the Creation, exploring the book The Essentials of Tawhid. And tonight we are reflecting once again on trials and tribulations and tests as blessings and hardships as blessings. When we come back after the break, inshallah, we will continue. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to the program Tawhid and Creation, exploring the book The Essentials of Tawhid, book 3 in the series, authored by Bilisani Mani. And tonight we are looking at the concept of trials and hardships and tests as blessings. Now, Bilisani, taking into consideration what has been mentioned now, and we look at the concepts that have been placed before us of understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests and tries us so that Allah can elevate our status, so that Allah can test amongst us who has patience. And Bilsari had mentioned patience, and I think that is the goal and the objective here, for us to become patient, for us to persevere. Um, in line with that, um, how does one deal with and how does one gear oneself to become patient? Particularly because there is so much in the world that can make us panic. Someone falls ill, people panic. Someone loses their job, people panic. Someone falls into any kind of crisis, they panic. So what are the practical steps that Islam gives us to put us in that reflective mood and to help us develop sabr? Uh, is it adhkar, or is it a training of a mindset that will inevitably help us attain that sabr, that will help us deal with the challenges of life?
Muhammad Fasih, you cannot expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to treat the sinner exactly the same as the obedient, believing servant of Allah. Even in a worldly context, we know that to be the case. Now, if we firstly accept that Allah is the owner of that problem as well as the solution to that problem. That problem was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a particular purpose so that we can benefit from it. But Allah knows what we should do and what the solutions are. Allah knows. Now, where are you going to turn to? Now, our attitude should be that you have that rock steady, rock fast belief that Allah is the one who's in control. Now, if you have that as a start, to use a worldly example again, if you go for swimming lessons and you've not, you can't swim. If you know you can't swim, are you going to get in the water on the deep end? No. But if you go to the to for swimming lessons and the instructor is there and he says, let go of the railings, and you know he is there, you will let go because you know the help is right there. It's right there. You don't worry. Now we should have that kind of approach and attitude. The help is there, it's guaranteed no matter what happens and how it looks to you. But I can't swim. What if this? What if that? You don't know. The instructor knows. Now Allah knows so much more than any instructor or any person that can help you. And that would greatly assist if one can just have that certainty that Allah will be there to help you and assist you with the solution to whatever your problems are. Muhammad Fasih.
Bilisani, as Bilisani is talking, I'm thinking about Nabi Yunus, and I'm thinking about the dua, the supplication, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, which ultimately is about putting one's trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all that we need, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all that I need. Can we say that also sabr, as Bisari has mentioned, Islam does not treat the sinner and the one who is obedient the same. So can we say then that part of the journey towards success, as far as weathering those storms, is for the human being to develop his or her sabr, his or her patience, uh, through the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that they get to a point where they can then cope with the difficulties of life, and they become accepting of of the challenges, and also of the blessings, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives both trials as well as giving success and ease.
Muhammad Fasih, you see, when we talk sabr, we normally talk about sabr from a certain perception, meaning sabr means wait. Sabr means don't be in a hurry. That's a general kind of limited understanding that we have of sabr. Sabr, in its deeper, more profound meaning, means to be patient with the decree of Allah. What is the decree of Allah? Everything that happens in your life, in my life, in people's lives, can be described as the decree of Allah. How can one make a statement like that? Because nothing can happen which is not the will of Allah. Otherwise, we are saying Allah can will something, and there's other things that can happen that's outside Allah's will, that Allah is not in control of. So when we say, if you are patient, it means you are satisfied and you accept that Allah has good in mind for you. And when you have that approach, then, and you apply patience, then you are not in a hurry. You don't get impatient about the solution. When is it going to come? Will it ever come? Will it be too much? You don't ask those questions because you have full faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the kind of patience that we should develop. Not you are waiting for a response from the people that you've applied for a job. You wait in the queue to go to the bank or whatever. That's also patience, but that's not the patience that people refer to, the scholars refer to as that which is equal to half of Iman. Muhammad Rasif.
But Sani, I think we've reached the end of this session, but subhanAllah, I think another important program, as we journey on this concept to understanding that trials and tribulations are in actual fact blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think it's also true that sometimes ease is also a trial, or rather a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as much as difficulty is. And sometimes we as human beings, when ease comes along, we say, Allah's favoring me right now, subhanAllah, and we revel in the ease, and we forget the challenging times that were there to train us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah make
Let
us
me just make
mindful.
the if I can just make the final point on the question of sabr, that firstly Allah says in the Quran, in verse chapter 39 verse 10, only those who are patient shall receive their reward in full without hisab, and it will be without measure, without limit, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give and it will never get less. So Allah will benefit those who are patient, and it is put in a very specific category. And you know what will happen on the day of Qiyamah, Muhammad Fasih, on the day of reckoning? When all the people are assembled on the plains of Arafah, and they're going to have to account, and now we're going with our books either in our left hand or our right hand, and we're walking towards the point where we're going to be questioned about what we did. then their people will who are coming towards the plane will see that there are people on pillars of nur, and even the awliya and even the prophets will look at these people and say, who are these people? They're not prophets, they're not awliya. And those are people just who have true patience and sabr. Subhanallah, Muhammad Fasih, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those people who will develop the true sabr, the sabr that will actually earn us that kind of status in the akhirah.
Amin
Muhammad Fasih.
inshallah, Amin. Amin inshallah, Amin. And we make the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us not only patience and sabr with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us ease, that we do not forget the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense, and the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has bestowed both the test of difficulty and the test of ease.
Yes.
Inshallah. I mean, but Sani, I want to say a big shukran for joining us this evening, and inshallah we look forward to next week as we continue this topic, which is, I think, subhanallah, so important to our belief frame, our thinking, and to allow us to look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that we are supposed to as human beings, as opposed to from the perspective of our nafs, our childlike nafs. But Sani, once again, big shukran, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Muhammad Fasih, and the listeners out there.
If you'd like a copy of the book, The Essentials of Tawhid, or any of the other books in the series, you can visit www.salimani.co.za. And if you'd like to look at or engage with the YouTube content, we decided to conduct various Zoom classes on a lot of the subject matter pertaining to Tawhid, covered in the Essentials of Tawhid, and also the Big Bang, the Amazing Human Body. All you've got to do is search the YouTube platform and look for Salimani. You'll find the channel and you'll be able to access all of those Zoom classes from there. Once again, from myself, Muhammad Fasih Peterson, till I speak again, inshallah, I bid you assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and have a safe evening further.